Total Physical Response, or TPR. What is TPR? Total Physical Response is a language teaching method built around the coordination of speech and action. It attempts to teach language through physical, motor activity. Developed by James Asher, a professor of psychology at San Jose State University, California. It draws on several traditions, including developmental psychology, learning theory, and humanistic pedagogy, as well as on language teaching procedures proposed by Harold and Dorothy Palmer in 1925. We all know that children learn by watching, listening, and imitating. These three theories go hand in hand with the VAC model, which entails visual, auditory, and kinesthetic stimuli. Alongside this, Professor Asher developed three basic pillars of this theory. The first one is the bio program, which entails that children develop listening before they develop speech. In other words, when you see a child, a baby, you tend to see that the baby is always receiving information from the outside world. The baby is always listening to other people speaking. Babies tend to respond to the speech by acting, by moving, in other words. So they move their hands, their feet, they show happiness, they show anger or sadness as a response to that, to the speech that they're receiving. Soon after they are capable of fully understanding what they are receiving, the listening that they're doing, speech will follow shortly. So in other words, they start producing or they start speaking. The second pillar is the brain lateralization. So normally when you're studying a second language, that language tends to, or the program tends to follow or tends to focus on the left brain hemisphere, the one that entails logic, reasoning, and of course language production. However, this theory focuses on understanding that the right brain hemisphere is the way how most people tend to learn how to speak their first language, by moving, by showing, by connecting language with movement. It is a lot easier to be able to learn how to speak. And it is heavily related to the third pillar, which is the reduction of stress. So second language learning is usually very, very stressful because it entails having to memorize words, like acquiring new vocabulary. It entails the frustration of not remembering things. And of course, you have to remember previous concepts that you may not necessarily use on a daily basis. So TPR focuses on making sure that the learning process is stress-free. And it suggests that if you tap into the bio program and you follow this concept of right brain lateralization, then you are providing a stress-free environment for people to learn. A few considerations. First of all, there is one part of speech to rule them all, the verb. Asher stresses on the importance of imperative verbs because as we listen to imperative verbs and we actually have to perform the motor skills that they instruct, then we are ensuring that we can gain the skills necessary to be able to learn the language. Slow and steady wins the race. A set number of items should be introduced to students, usually ranging from 12 to 36 according to Asher, yet the number may vary depending on the needs of the group. Last but not least, listen and perform. The student's role is twofold. They view and listen to the teacher performing the action, and they later on have to replicate it. They do not have to say necessarily the words that the teacher is saying, but they have to replicate the action. When the student is ready, they will say the words as well. Role-playing, for this reason, is essential at early stages, and later on, dialogues are introduced. Last but not least, repetition leads to success. Saying things constantly, ensuring that the student can listen to the same prompts will lead towards them learning the language.